Number 10. X-Baby. This alternate baby comes to us from the short stories that make up X-Millennial Visions 2000. Here in the story titled Bringing Up Baby, we learn of a son that Jean and Scott both have together in this alternate future. The story shares a conversation the two have, an argument regarding Jean being pregnant. She wants to keep the baby, Scott is contemplating them not having the baby, considering all the problems that then could arise from that. What if something happened? What if he just isn't ready? He's scared, and considering his track record with this kind of situation, I can't say I blame him. Jean keeps pressing though. What if their child has superpowers and can defend themselves? Look at Reed Richards and Sue Storm. They are both heroes and parents. It could work. The next page shows a picture of their son that I guess they agreed to have, who seems to have his father's eyes and his mother's telekinetic powers even as a baby. Their parents look on, slightly amazed and terrified. I feel like raising a super baby would be really hard. Also, where did they get those X-Men brand diapers? Number 9. Summers Twins. The Summers Twins are the children of Emma Frost and Scott Summers. They have a bit of a Cuckoo's vibe to them, but also have darker eyes and freckles than the Cuckoos, resembling Emma a little less and Scott a little more. They have psionic powers which allow them to create solid psionic objects similar to Psylocke's weapons. In the reality of Earth 41001, which they originate from, they are not the only children of Emma and Scott either. Their mother is very protective of both of them, as well as all of her and Scott's children. In this reality, Scott and Emma are actually married. Number 8. Strife. Strife is the evil clone of Cable, who is the biological offspring of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor. He was created to be a fail-safe child should the young baby Nathan die, succumbing to the techno-organic virus that plagued him. Creating this clone who would grow up to become Strife was the decision of Mother Ascani, who knew of baby Nathan's prophesied importance. Strife was also brought into the world with the same techno-organic virus that plagued his twin, but as Clan Ascani were present for his entire growth cycle, they were able to actually minimize the infection, reducing the risk of it becoming lethal. Both children ended up surviving, but shortly after Apocalypse busted in and the Ascani were only able to save one of the two babies. The baby they saved was actually the true son of Scott, Nathan Summers. Apocalypse thought he had captured baby Cable, but he'd actually retrieved his clone, Strife, instead. Strife as such was raised by Apocalypse to become his powerful weapon and potentially become the perfect body for Apocalypse to transfer himself into in the future. He was also pretty much raised to be evil, so yeah. Number 7. Megan Summers. Megan Summers is the telepathic daughter of both Scott Summers and Emma Frost. She is from the reality of Earth 41001, where they are married. She is the older sister to the Summers twins we talked about earlier, and her youngest sibling Alex, named after the deceased Uncle Alex, aka Havoc. She also studied at the Xavier Institute and was training to become a hero like her parents before her. Number 6. Ruby Summers. Ruby Summers is the daughter of Scott Summers and Emma Frost, and comes from the alternate reality that is also the home reality of Bishop, Earth 1191. Ruby ended up being named by Layla Miller herself, who suggested the name to both her parents. Her mother in this reality is dead, but Scott is still alive, although he is part cyborg in this alternate future reality. Ruby also becomes motivated by Layla to continue the dream of the X-Men and fight for mutant freedom. Her powers are similar to her father's, but she has full control over her optic blasts. She can shapeshift into her Ruby form, which is similar to her mother's Diamond form, and while in this form she does not age, nor does she require food or water to survive. Number 5. Nate Gray. Nate Gray is the son of Scott and Jean, who was raised by Forge, who basically became his foster father. Scott and Jean never really knew of their relation to Nate when he was born, as he was created by Mr. Sinister to be the perfect psionic mutant. Sinister created him using the genetic material of both Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Mr. Sinister just has all that genetic material. Nate did end up becoming the perfect psionic mutant and is known for being one of the most powerful mutants around. At one point he was even seen as being a mutant Jesus, being known for a time by the mantle of the Second Coming. He has been shown using his powers to heal and even resurrect people on occasion, as well as warp reality. He also is believed to be a potential avatar of the Phoenix Force due to his ties to Jean Grey and his immense power. Nate also has a telepathic link to his alternate reality brother, Nathan Summers. Number 4. Mother Ascani. Mother Ascani is Rachel Summers, but from an alternate timeline. Although Rachel has been explained in the comics as being unique when it comes to kind of her alternates. She doesn't so much have alternate versions of herself, more that there are are like different aspects of herself scattered throughout various realities and time, but Rachel is kind of always Rachel. She's both all there is and then kind of so much more than that. It's confusing, but it's also what makes her cool. This version of Rachel came into her own state of being after she sacrificed herself to save Captain Britain. Becoming lost in the time stream, she ended up in an alternate future in the 37th century where Apocalypse had taken over the planet 100 years prior. She developed the clan Ascani and would be the one to give the order for Sister Ascani to help save the prophesied Messiah referred to as Ascani's son or Dayspring, which would end up being her alternate timeline brother, Nathan Summers. So many alternate timeline siblings. Hard to keep track of all this traveling through time and alternate realities. Number 3. Young Cable. Who is this young kid? I thought Cable was an old grizzled man like we saw in Deadpool 2. If that's what you're thinking, well, you're not wrong, but also you kinda are wrong. There are in essence sorta 2 Cables, but there's only one Nathan Summers. Sort of. I mean, it's complicated. Basically, young Cable is old Cable, but from his own past. Young Cable, however, killed himself, older Cable, and in essence replaced him in the comics. While he's technically the same character just from his own past, he's also kind of a very different person as he's at a different stage in his life. In essence, Cable closed his own time loop when he killed himself, which a lot of people hated as they figured, how would Cable not see that coming? And also, they miss old Cable. But of course, all of that confusion was explained. In essence, old Cable knew it was coming, but he also knew because of his past that it kinda had to happen, so yeah. Confusing. Anyways, young Cable is the current main Cable in the Dawn of X line, who is basically a loudmouth, gun-obsessed, cocky kid who loves a good fight, especially if he gets to protect innocent people along the way, or it makes him look badass in front of the ladies. He has dated a bunch of younger mutants already in the comics, but is currently in a relationship with all 5 of the Cuckoos, much to Emma Frost's displeasure. Just watching you, young Cable. Number 2. Rachel Summers. Rachel has got to be one of the most confusing of the Summers children, and I say that fully acknowledging all the confusing stuff that we just talked about, including the stuff with Cable. While there is the version of Rachel Summers that became Mother Ascani, there is also multiple other versions of her besides, especially as her splitting into separate entities is literally a part of sort of Mother Ascani's story. Anyways, this Rachel Summers is from the alternate Earth of 811, and for most people is considered the Rachel Summers, the main one. Here she was born to Jean and Scott after Jean had bonded with the Phoenix Force and ended up living after having the confrontation with the Shi'ar. Rachel didn't just inherit her mother's extraordinary telepathic and telekinetic powers though, she also inherited the Phoenix Force itself, part of which resided within her, allowing her to use its power whenever she needed. She was friends with Franklin Richards and lived peacefully in her reality until the anti-mutant Senator Kelly was killed. This ended up resulting in pandemonium and public panic, which resulted in the death of her mother and her father, as well as an apocalyptic future where all superhuman beings were essentially captured or killed. Rachel's powers allow her to manipulate time and travel through it, which was kinda how she ended up in the reality of Earth 616. Number 1. Old Cable. Or just Cable really, we can just call him Cable. This was the original Cable, a man who was once baby Christopher, the son of Madeline Pryor and Scott Summers, and then grew up to become Nathan Summers. He was infected with the techno-organic virus by Apocalypse, but was later saved by both his adoptive mother, Jean Grey, and his biological father, Scott Summers, with some help from the Inhumans as well. Jean at this point was kinda also like Nathan's mother, and Madeline was out of the picture, having gone insane and become the Goblin Queen after she learned she was a clone of Jean created by Mr. Sinister. Jean was given memories of raising the baby that basically gave her a natural motherly instinct and attachment to the child, although I don't really know why that was necessary. She could have likely raised this baby as her son without needing those memories, but anyways, yes, Jean was also pretty much his mother. After saving the baby, Cyclops and Jean were faced with a hard decision in order to save the baby's life. They decided to send him with Sister Ascani, and they actually would see him again, in the future and the past, and pretty much all throughout and around their timeline and alternate timelines besides. Adult Nathan Summers, Cable, would also at one point become the one responsible for saving his own father's life. Number 10. Sir-El. Sir-El originally believed she was Kal-El's daughter. She told Superman as much, believing she was the daughter of him and Lois Lane from the future. A genetic test would reveal that she was telling the truth in part, and genetically was Superman's daughter. In reality, it would later be revealed that she was actually created by Brainiac to bring about the end of the world. world. He created her using Superman's genetic material and implanted her with the Yes virus, a techno-organic virus that when unleashed would allow him to rule the world. She was also designed to be strong enough to defeat Superman. Brainiac had also intended to use Sor-El to destroy his nemesis. Once she learned of this, she decided to erase herself from existence in order to protect the world and her pseudo-father, Superman. Number 9. Van-El. Van-El comes to us from the famous Superman story For the Man Who Has Everything. He was a non-powered son of Superman who existed in Superman's sweetest dreams. Superman experienced these dreams after being exposed to an alien parasitic organism known as the Black Mercy. It drains its victims' life energy while giving them pleasant, hallucinogenic dreams. In Superman's dreams, Krypton was never destroyed and he still lived there. He was married and had a son named Von-El. Technically, if they were on Earth, Von-El would likely have powers similar to Superman, but because he and Kal-El were on Krypton, where there is no yellow sun to power either of them, they were both just normal, like other Kryptonians. Number 8. Ur-Zod. Ur-Zod comes to us from the Justice Lord's universe. He was created to be the perfect genetic heir to the throne of Earth, and to help usher in an era of peace after years of war. He was created using the genetic material of Wonder Woman and Lord Superman, but is considered to be somewhat weaker in terms of power levels than his parents. Originally, Brainiac got a hold of Ur-Zod, planning to use and raise him as his own weapon of destruction. Fortunately, he was saved by Superman from the Batman Beyond universe and taken in by their Justice League. While his inherited powers might not be as strong as his parents, Ur-Zod also has the unique ability of being able to control technology, which would prove useful later on in his fight against Brainiac. Man, Brainiac's always making all these fake children. Or well, I guess he didn't make this one, but he wanted to like mold it. Brainiac's always up to no good. That's what I'm learning from this list. Number 7. Lara Lane Kent. Lara Kent is the unborn daughter of Lois Lane and Superman in the Injustice universe. In a dream that Superman has during year 3, we get to see what her life would have been like had that fateful day gone differently for Superman and he hadn't been made to kill his wife and unborn daughter. In this alternate dream reality, Lara is raised by both her parents, her first word notably being mom. When her powers begin to manifest, she is taught by her father and his friends on the Justice League about how to use them. Lara at one point as a young adult looks down at the Earth with her father from space and wonders if the fighting and crime will ever stop. Her dad tells her that they could, if they wished, use their powers to enforce order to save the humans of Earth from themselves, forcing them to have peace. But Lara teases her dad, responding that he sounds like a B-grade villain saying that. Instead, Lara ends up working as an ambassador for the League, helping everyday people to learn how to fight for themselves, instead of just always continuing to have superheroes fighting for them. Number 6. Ariella Kent. Ariella Kent is the daughter of Linda Danvers, formerly Supergirl, and Earth 1 Superman. Ariella lived happily with her parents, presumably until the Spectre informed Linda that she needed to return to her own parallel reality. If you're wondering if it's creepy that Supergirl and Superman have a child together in an alternate timeline, it kinda is if you just hear that without context, but with context it really isn't that creepy. Linda Danvers is not a Supergirl who is related at all to Clark Kent, not even in her own reality, and even if she had been, which she isn't, this Clark Kent was actually from a different alternate Earth altogether. So no, they're not related. After Linda returned to her reality, Spectre agreed to allow her daughter to live. Ariella, as a 6-year-old girl, was supremely powerful but didn't have the maturity to wield her powers wisely, because she's just a little kid. She was capable of time travel and mostly traveled through space, playing and unknowingly creating mass destruction wherever she went. That's what happens when you're a kid that is that powerful. You just play with planets and blow them up. Yikes. Number 5. Joel Kent. Joel Kent comes to us from Earth 3839. There he was the son of Superman and Lois Lane. However, while Lois was pregnant with Joel, she was exposed to gold kryptonite by the villains Joker and Lex Luthor. This caused her son to be born without any powers. Lex used Joel's shame to his advantage, claiming that Joel's father was the one responsible for this. Lex said that Superman had exposed his unborn son to gold kryptonite on purpose, fearful that his son would become even more great than him. This seeming revelation caused Joel to become more detached from his family, thinking of Lex as more of a father than his own father. He also became more cruel over time. Eventually, he became a villain to his family, accepting a serum that Lex said would restore his powers. Number 4. Kara Kent Wayne. Kara was the daughter of Superman and Lois from the same alternate Earth of 3839, born 3 years after her brother. She herself had superpowers similar to her father's, though weaker due to her hybrid human and Kryptonian physiology. Kara would grow up to become a hero hero and take up the mantle Supergirl, and ended up falling in love with the newest Batman, who was actually Bruce Wayne Jr., the son of the original Batman. Bruce Jr. took up the mantle of Batman following the previous Batman, Dick Grayson's, death. At Kara's wedding, her brother Joel showed up, having received powers from the serum Lex Luthor had given him, and attacked his family, killing Kara. Number 3. Jonathan Lane Kent. I love that throughout Superman stories we get to see how powerfully good the super family can be and how powerfully evil they can potentially be as well. Bottom line, either way you slice it, they're powerful. John Lane Kent is the son of Superman and Lois Lane from an alternate future. It was believed that he had died due to an irreparable medical issue with his DNA. Shockingly, it was later revealed that the villain Harvest managed to actually save John, taking his body to the past and resurrecting him. Harvest had his own plans for what John would become and turned him into a villain, using him as a weapon to destroy all metahumans. John is more powerful than his father, sharing his powers, but also possessing the ability to turn invisible. It's later revealed that the original Superboy, Kon-El, was basically a clone of John, and not Superman like we originally thought. Shocking. Number 2. Hyperman. Hyperman is the son of Wonder Woman and Superman from the Kingdom Come reality. Here, Hyperman as a baby was raised by Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. However, he was then later stolen away by a villain named Gog, who intended to raise the infant to become a villain. Fortunately, the present day and alternate Kingdom Come future counterparts of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman managed to team up to defeat Gog with the added babysitting assistance of Baby John himself from the future, where he is revealed to be the hero known as Hyperman. Hyperman ends up being a hero who has the combined powers of both of his parents and also has the ability to time travel. Number 1. Jonathan Samuel Kent, or just John Kent if you will. This is Superman and Lois Lane's child who was born during the events of Convergence. He grew up without really ever knowing the truth of who his parents were, growing up relatively normal but suspicious of what his parents really did. The Kents changed their name to the Whites, escaping the fate of their dying universe and taking up residence on the new Prime Earth, trying to raise John normally and not get in the way of their alternate selves in this new world. Lois still worked as a writer and journalist, but publishing her works under the pseudonym Author X, and Superman kept his superheroic activities under wraps and secretive, going out at night and appearing as a shadow of Superman, as this world kinda already had their own Kal-El. Eventually, the New 52 Superman died, and so the Whites became the Kents once more, and stepped into their usual roles once again. John's powers manifested when he first hit puberty, discovering his laser vision when he accidentally killed the family cat. Shortly afterward, he would take up the mantle Superboy and become a hero alongside his father, starting a rivalry and later a friendship with Batman's son, Damian Wayne. But that's all behind him now, as he went to space, grew up quickly, and now he's a member of the Legion of Superheroes and goes on adventures in the future. Because comics. Number 10. Sisters. The Sisters were a group of clones that Gabrielle Kinney was a part of. Altogether, including Gabby, there were 10 of them. They were created by Alchemax using samples of DNA from both Logan and Sarah Kinney, Laura aka X-23's mother. They were each known as a new numbered clone for X-23. Zelda was the oldest and the leader. With the sisters, the elders usually protected the younger clones, with Gabby being one of the youngest and often receiving the most protection from the other sisters. Alchemax intended to create them to be used as bodyguards, but they eventually escaped and sought to get revenge on their captors, running into Laura Kinney, who was Wolverine at the time, and who initially questioned their motives. Number 9. Fire Knives. On part 1 of this list we talked about some of the mongrels, but there was someone that we did not mention. Fire Knives is a daughter of Wolverine. We don't know much about her, not knowing her true name or the name of her mother or who exactly her mother was. What we do know is that Daken recruited her to join a team known as the Mongrels, whose name was likely inspired by the name Daken had taken, which means mongrel in Japanese, a cruel name that his adopted parents' servants referred to him by, due to his mixed appearance. The Mongrels were a group used against Wolverine by the organization known as the Red Right Hand, all of whose members had a vendetta against him. We don't know if Fire Knives had any superhuman abilities or was a mutant like her father, but we do know that she was a skilled martial artist and a combatant. It's also possible, considering her own fiery red locks, that her mother was a redhead, which Logan tends to have a weakness and fondness for, like many other characters in comics too. Seems to be a pattern in the comics world. Redheads, we like redheads. Number 8. Hulk Jr. This is the child that Old Man Logan adopted after defeating the Banner Clan, who in turn had killed Logan's family after they got tired of waiting for him to return with the rent money. When Logan of Earth 807128 had discovered they had killed his family, he went into a rage, killing everyone except for little Hulk Jr., the original Hulk, Bruce Banner's favorite and newest member of the gang. Baby Bruce was then adopted by Old Man Logan, joining him on his adventures, with Logan vowing to raise him as his own son and teach him how to be a hero. Number 7. Scotty and Jade. Scotty and Jade were Old Man Logan's naturally born children, which he had and raised with his partner Maureen. It's thought that Scotty was named after Scott Summers, Wolverine's old and long dead friend. Both his son and daughter, as well as Maureen, were of course murdered in Logan's absence when he went on that mission to acquire enough money to pay rent to the Hulk gang. This was the consequence that Logan was threatened with by the Banner Clan if he didn't pay rent in time. The sad thing was he did collect and bring back the money in time, only to find that the Hulks had gotten bored and restless, tired of waiting, so they killed his family anyways, before the due date that Logan and the Banner Clan had actually agreed upon. Pretty tragic. Number 6. Kuan. Kuan is Wolverine's young clone who is from the alternate Earth of 13119. He first appeared in the Savage Wolverine series, where we were both introduced to him and also watched him die. What's rare in comparison to the reality of Earth 616 is that Kuan was a male clone, whereas many of the Wolverine clones we've seen have been female. He was sent after Logan to help retrieve, or potentially kill and retrieve, his body for a mysterious organization that is never revealed. Instead, the two of them end up teaming up. Number 5. Brian and Mari. Brian and Mari Logan are the children of both Mariko and Wolverine from Earth 1298. This is an alternate reality where Xavier would end up becoming the new Shadow King, and as such the X-Men would be led instead by their co-founder in this reality, Magneto. Here, Havoc is also the only surviving member of the Summers family. We first see Mari and Brian in the Mutant X series, where they are kidnapped by Sabretooth and later have to be saved by their father. Number 4. Wild Thing. Wild Thing is Rena Logan, the daughter of Wolverine and of Elektra from the alternate Earth of 982. The reality of Earth 982 has the Age of Heroes, the big boom of superheroic activity on Earth, happening 15 years earlier in comparison to the main continuity of Earth 616, meaning a lot of our heroes from the main continuity in this reality are retired or simply older now. Such is the case for Rena's parents. Rena is a high schooler when we meet her who is trying to balance the lifestyle of being a hero with that of being a teenager. Her abilities are similar to her father's, but instead of bone claws, she has psychic claws. She is also an insanely skilled martial artist, having been trained by both her father and her mother, so not someone you want to mess with. Number 3. Torrent. Kendall Logan is the amazingly cool daughter of Wolverine and Storm from the alternate Earth of 9811. Reality 9811 gives us an alternate world where the heroes and villains that Beyonder transported to Battle World during Secret Wars never left. Torrent was one of the heroic children who assembled to battle the children of the villains. Torrent has her father's healing factor and her mother's abilities to control the weather. She can also fly, like Storm. Number 2. Kirika Yoshida. From the Age of Apocalypse alternate Earth of 295, we have the daughter that Mariko Yoshida and Wolverine never got to have in the main continuity reality verse 616, Kirika Yoshida. So many alternate Mariko and Wolverine children, I love it. Mariko and Logan, aka Weapon X, took different sides following the rise of Apocalypse. Weapon X joined Apocalypse and the side of mutants, while Mariko allied herself with the Human High Council. As such, Kirika was somehow lost and, I don't know, she became the prisoner of Mr. Sinister somehow. She was later retrieved from his labs after Apocalypse's defeat, where she had been labeled as X-23. Kirika has claws like her father and seems to have his superhuman senses as well. Number 1. Raze Darkholme. Raze is the son of Wolverine and Mystique from the alternate reality of Earth 13729. This alternate timeline saw an alternate Wolverine become headmaster of the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. It is also the home to a new brotherhood of evil mutants led by Charles's and Mystique's son, Charles Xavier II, and his half-brother Raze. Raze first appeared impersonating Kitty Pryde in X-Men Battle of the Atom issue number 1 in order to get closer to Wolverine so that he could take him out. We also learned that Raze killed his mother, whom he then took the place of. He has both the combined powers of Wolverine and Mystique, and is even believed to be a more powerful and skilled shapeshifter than his mother. Wow. Number 10. Ren Duran. Ren Duran, which sounds kinda like Duran Duran but isn't, is Logan's daughter from an alternate universe. Her mother was a sorceress known as Sylvie Darkness, and she grew up in a family with a strong lineage of magic users. She herself has both a healing factor and magical abilities, which allow her to open portals. Her bone claws seem to also be imbued with mystical energy as they glow. Ren made her first full appearance in 2019's Marvel Comics Presents issue number 5. Number 9. Shadowstalker. Are you ready for the Mongrels? Cause they are coming! Coming for Wolverine's head, that is. The Mongrels were a group of Wolverine's children who all kinda had a personal vendetta against him, many of them being abandoned by him. They were convinced by Daken to become a group known as the Mongrels, who were trained by the Red Right Hand to become assassins and to take on Wolverine. Shadowstalker was one member of the Mongrels who didn't even get a name. We also don't know who her mother was, but she had a very interesting look when it came to her costume, sporting a weird mask with flail-like hair tendrils, like a flail ponytail. Pony flails. Cannonfoot. Cannonfoot was another mongrel. Once again, we do not know his name or the name of his mother, but Daken also found him and brought him into the fold. His abilities we know to be closer to Wolverine's, giving him an animal-like instinct, superhuman strength, speed, and agility. He also appears to have claws on his toes and fingers, similar to Sabretooth. Sophist. All we think we know is that Sophist is likely Mexican. He is also a member of the Mongrels. Once again, we do not know his mother's name or his name. We know that he wears a luchador mask and enjoys shouting out battle cries in Spanish though. He often fought with a chainsaw strapped to his arm, hence his mantle of Sophist. Gunhawk. Gunhawk became the leader of the Mongrels. He actually got a name, and so did his mother. Yay! His name is William Downing, and his mother was Dolores Downing. She is believed to be a Canadian woman, though the story of her and Logan's relationship still remains pretty unknown. Downing's mother died of old age, so it's likely that she and Logan met a long time ago. And Downing himself is not a young man. He takes the name Gunhawk, inspired by the famous Western gunslinger of the same name. He doesn't appear to have any powers, but he is an expert strategist and skilled combatant. Like the rest of the Mongrels, William died fighting his father. Wolverine gave them the option to surrender, but they refused. Later on, Wolverine would discover that the team was composed solely of his children and buried them feeling great sorrow and remorse for being made to kill them. Wolverine just has such a tragic story. Everything that happens to him is terrible. Number 5. Emiko. Emiko is the adopted daughter of Wolverine. She first appeared in Uncanny X-Men issue 181, where her mother was killed when a dragon from Battleworld rampaged through Tokyo. True story. Wolverine agreed to look after Emiko as her mother lay dying, worried for her daughter's safety. Wolverine promised to raise her as his own, and well, that's kinda what he did. Well, it was mostly his fiancée Mariko who raised her, as Wolverine of course was often busy with X-Men missions. After Mariko was assassinated by the Hand, Emiko ended up in the foster system. When Logan learned Emiko's foster parents were not taking proper care of her, he removed her from their care and asked his friend Yukio to look after her. Seeing as how Emiko has spent most of her life raised with Clan Yoshida, although she does not have any powers just yet, she is trained in the martial arts. She's even teamed up with Wolverine and Yukio at the end of issue 303 of Wolverine. It's pretty cute. Number 4. Scout. Scout was formerly known as Honey Badger and is a clone of Wolverine. She was also created using Wolverine's genetic material and that of geneticist Sarah Kinney. She is one of 10 clones created in this vein who are often referred to as the Sisters. Gabrielle Kinney, or Gabby, was created by Alchemex Genetics and was trained and used as a bodyguard to be sent out on missions. Her and her sisters were made to feel no pain, which sometimes gives her a strange edge in comparison to some of Wolverine's other children, if we're talking about power levels. Although, you know, pain is there to be felt for a reason, so. Number 3. Jimmy Hudson. Jimmy is the son of Wolverine from the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610. He was adopted by James Hudson, who promised to take care of Wolverine's newborn son after the two fought together in Iraq and Wolverine died. Jimmy's last name was changed and he was raised without ever knowing about his father, or that he was likely a mutant. When he was a teenager, his power manifested, and it was only then that he learned of his true origins. Number 2. Daken. Dakin's original name was Akihiro. He is a mutant natural-born son of Wolverine and his wife Itsu. Itsu herself was very pregnant with Logan's child when she was murdered by Bucky Barnes during his time as the assassin known as Winter Soldier. It was later revealed that Itsu's unborn child did not perish, but was instead cut out of Itsu's womb and retrieved by the villain Romulus. Romulus later left the baby on the doorstep of a wealthy Japanese family, who took the baby in and raised him as their own. The family named him Akihiro, but the servants referred to him as Dakin, meaning mongrel, because of his mixed racial appearance. Romulus would later reveal himself to the boy after everything kinda went sideways, claiming to be him from the future and attempting to use and manipulate Dakin for his own purposes. Dakin and his father, considering his backstory as such, have had a rocky relationship throughout the comics, and Dakin is often painted as a villain or a reluctant anti-hero. Number 1. X-23, also known really as just Wolverine. She and her dad are both Wolverine really. Laura Kinney is technically the genetic twin of Wolverine. She was created when Facility tried to create a clone of Weapon X to use, well, as a weapon. Sarah Kinney, an acclaimed geneticist, was brought in when Xander Rice failed to replicate the adamantium bonding procedure on any of his subjects, who all died during the process. The genetic sample that Sarah was attempting to use to clone Wolverine with was damaged, which prompted her to suggest making a female clone instead of reconstructing the genetic sample artificially, which would take years. When Dr. Sutter and Xander Rice refused to agree with Kinney that this was the best way to proceed, she rebelled and decided to go against their wishes, moving forward with her version of the project. In the end, she was forced into being the surrogate mother for baby Laura and regretted her earlier views of seeing this being as only a weapon, instead of the true miracle of life that it was. Laura would grow up to be X-23 and would eventually escape the facility and track down her genetic father, Wolverine.